Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple reversible wrap skirt for a medium-sized doll. You need 3 coordinating cotton prints. You also need 2 plastic lids, one that has at least a 7-inch diameter, another that has at least a 12-inch diameter, and a sewing machine. To get started, you need a piece of fabric the color that you'd like for the tie of the skirt, and it should be 1.5 inches wide. You want to make sure that it goes around the waist of your doll at least 2 times. So this goes around once, and it goes around a second time, and there's a little bit of extra, which is nice when you're making the tie. I also have 2 prints of fabric for each side of the skirt so that I can have a different look on each side of the skirt, and I have my doll. So I'm going to get started by measuring the waist circumference of my doll. I can see that her waist is fairly tiny and it's going to be just a little bit more than 6 inches wide. So when I do the skirt, because it wraps around once and then about another half time, I'm going to make the skirt 9 inches around the waist. So 1.5 times the circumference of the waist. So I will start by taking a large plastic lid, and I'm going to place it on my fabric. The fabric is right sides together. I'm going to place it on the fabric and do a semicircle, draw a semicircle on the fabric. Then I'm going to take the smaller lid, and inside that outside semicircle I'm going to center it as much as I can. Maybe just check it with your measuring tape. So here I'm about 3 inches from the side, and here same thing, 3 inches from the side, and also check the top. And I'm going to measure 9 inches from this edge. I'm going to measure 9 inches around that smaller lid. And that's right over here. So from there I'm going to draw a line to the outside circle. And I'll also trace along the edge of that smaller lid. I want my skirt to be a little bit longer than the 3 inches, and so when I cut this, I'm going to cut an additional inch on the outside of that circle. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to cut this piece off so I have a nice skirt ready to sew. I've cut my skirt, and you can see on this side I have the purple, on this side I have the floral. I also want to curve the edges a little bit. So starting about 1/2 inch downwards, I'll just do a curve in this side of the skirt, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. For the tie of the skirt, place it right side down on the ironing board, fold the end in 1/4 inch from the end, and iron. And do the same thing with the other side. Take one side and iron in 1/4 inch, all the way down the side of the fabric. Repeat with the second side of the tie. Once you've ironed both sides of the tie, fold them in and take one folded side and line it up with the other folded side and iron down the center. I have my skirt ready to sew, so I'm going to sew 1/4 inch from the edge around the side, the bottom, and the other side. I'm going to leave the top of the skirt open so that I can turn it. After the skirt has been turned right side out and ironed, take the tie that you ironed earlier and place it with its right side against the edge of that skirt and leave about 3 inches past the edge of the skirt. What you're going to do is pin it along that edge and then sew it 1/4 inch from the top all the way along that edge. Now that the tie has been sewn on one side of the skirt, we're going to use the fold that we created earlier and fold it over so it goes over top the edge of the skirt, and we'll sew along the edge of that tie starting from one end going all the way to the other end, and you want to sew very close to that unfinished end. Once you get to the other edge of the skirt, keep going along the tie until you get to the end. The last step that I've done is to make a buttonhole that I've just snipped open at the top of that skirt to allow the tie to come through. So to put the skirt on the doll, I'm going to take the floral, I'm going to put the floral print on the outside. So I'll wrap the long end of the tie around the doll once, and I'll put it through that buttonhole that I've created. Most sewing machines have a buttonhole feature. If you don't want to make a buttonhole, you can also just snip a hole in the fabric and finish it with something like fray check, something to keep the fabric from unraveling. And so that longer end of the tie comes through the hole, tie it with the shorter end, and there's your skirt.